What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another preview stream for game week 3, Bournemouth against Tottenham at the Vitality. If you are new around here, please do scroll down and smash that like button. We've also got a brand new website as well, where we give you daily blog post updates as well as our merchandise, which is on sale. But let's get straight in to the match preview this weekend. It's going to be a tough game. It's never an easy game against Bournemouth, to be honest, if you cast your mind back to last season. Two similar games but different scorelines in a way. I mean, the first game at the Vitality was like kind of, would you say where we really saw what Rodrigo Bentancur can really provide for us?
I wouldn't say the first time, but he was brilliant in that game. I remember we had a lot of problems. I think we had injuries in that game. We had a bit of a makeshift team, and we were 2-0 down going into the second half. I think Kiefer Moore scored a couple of goals, and it would look like it was going to be one of those days where Tottenham just were a bit Spursy, easy to play against, not really. And also it was like under Conte, we weren't really dominating the ball, we were struggling. But we had a really good comeback late in the game. I think it was mostly from set pieces where we were able to get back in the game. Sessegnon scored, and then Davis and Bentancur both scored from corners late in the game to snatch victory. But in the corresponding fixture of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it was a bit more, Tottenham were playing, I think it was under Stellini still at that time, but we were trying to play a bit more front foot football, I remember. It was I think we probably even played better in that game than we did in the away game, but we ended up losing 3-2 to a last-minute goal from Utara. So two very entertaining games. I'm hoping in this game we're going to have a bit more control than we did in those two games. As much as it's weird, we're going to see a new Tottenham, but we're also going to be seeing a new Bournemouth this game as well, because they're under a new management in Iraola, who did a very good job out in Spain last season. Took us a team, I think it was Vallecano, last season, from like relegation threat into like mid-table, playing some decent football. And I think they're going to try and do the same thing this season for Bournemouth. They lost their first two games of the season, albeit the results haven't gone their way. They drew 1-1 against West Ham and they lost 3-1 to Liverpool. But definitely, you can see what he's trying to implement in the first two games and the different approach play they're going for. And this is going to be a very difficult game. Obviously, they're going to be looking for their first win of the season, so they're going to be up for it. They're a physical team, and they're going to be, I think, a much more of a threat when it comes to open play and, trying to play through us and trying to beat our press, and also pressing themselves. They weren't much of a pressing team last season. They're much more like sitting back and, soaking up pressure and then using their fast players on the counter-attack. But this season, it's a different approach. And we saw that in the first 5-10 minutes against Liverpool at Anfield, how they took risk, they threw caution to the wind. And in the first 10 minutes, I know it didn't pay off overall, but they definitely were causing Liverpool a lot of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at the form going into this game, like you say, they haven't won in their first two games of the season. A draw first time out against West Ham, a defeat against Liverpool in the game, and Liverpool did have 10 men for a lot of that game, to be honest, when Alexis McAllister got sent off. But if you delve deeper into those games, I mean, they had a higher XG than West Ham in the 1-1 draw, and they potentially should have taken more out of the game. And against Liverpool, they started life well, and they got on the front foot, got the opening goal, and they did have a 1.29 XG away at Anfield, which ain't too bad, to be honest. And I think Liverpool did take control in the end of that game, not in the end, for the majority of the game, and really deserved the win. Spurs, on the other hand, in the two games going into this, we've dominated possession. We've looked the better team for over the 90-minute period in both of those games. A poor first. I mean, it's this similar thing to what we've seen last season, where we haven't performed as well in the first half as we have in the second half. And I just can't put my finger on this is. Like, why has this happened to Spurs over the past couple of seasons now, under Conte, now the first two games under Ange Postecoglou? We just look so much better in the second half of games as we do in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really give an explanation that's going to satisfy anyone, really, because I don't really know why that is. Under Conte, I think maybe a lot of the time we were at half time we were like losing, and maybe you could argue we kind of went more offensive to try to get back in the game, and that led to Spurs kind of being more on the front foot, and that's what we wanted to do much more, and that's why we looked better in the second halves. First couple games of the season, I wouldn't say we've been terrible in the first halves, but definitely we haven't been as good as
against United. We weren't great at all.
We weren't great, but we weren't horrific, I didn't think. I know United were a better team, but I think we found solutions, and come the end of the first half, we were already getting back in the game before the first half.
don't know. I think we only found solutions in like the last maybe 5, maybe a bit more minutes.
I'd say
of
like
that
the last
half.
10 minutes of the half.
But like for half an hour of that game, at least, we just couldn't get our own half. And I thought it was a bad showing, to be honest, that first half an hour. And then we did grow into the game. We did get better. But that first half an hour was worrying for me. And if we did come up against a team that will take their chances, we could have gone in, but really far behind at the break.
Yeah, I'm not saying we were good. I'm just saying I don't think we were terrible in the first half. I think United were the better team. We were dominated. But I think part of football is coming up against problems and finding solutions to those problems and working your way through the game. You can't always dominate, especially against good teams, for 90 minutes. And I think we did very well to manage that game. Yes, we rode our luck, and sometimes that happens in football. But we did start to find solutions come the end of the half, and then we took that into the second half and completely dominated, end up winning the game. Against Brentford, I would say we actually had a good start to the game, and then obviously Romero got injured, and then we went for a bit of a rough patch for like a 10-20 minute spell where we conceded a couple goals. We kind of looked a bit of a mess, but then again by the end of the first half we were getting our act together. We got the equaliser, and we took that momentum into the second half and dominated, and unfortunately we couldn't find the winner. But I think I'm not too concerned about that right now, as much as that is something to know, and you can't ignore it. I think, look, Postecoglou is still very early on in his tenure, and hopefully he's going to manage that situation and try and find solutions. But it is something that we have to address for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at the head-to-head between the two clubs, we did touch on it earlier on in the preview, but the last two games, both 3-2, well, 3 actually of the last 4 games against them have been 3-2. Obviously, the first one coming in 2019, seeing as they've been relegated and come back up. But last season, I mean... basically carbon copy performances and carbon copy ends to the game, just the opposite way around, where the away team has snatched the victory late on. In the home game, I mean, what was it? I think Arnaud Danjuma gets the equaliser in the last minute, 88th, 89th minute, and then we just completely flopped in the last minute. I think Utara gets the winner in the dying embers of the game. Do you kind of feel like it could be a similar outcome this weekend? Not maybe Bournemouth to win, but a high scoring game.
I do. I think it could be a very open game, with both teams conceding chances and both teams throwing risk, especially with Bournemouth being at home and wanting that first win. I think they're going to come flying out the traps, very similar to how they did at Anfield. I think they're going to put a lot of energy into the opening period and try and catch us out and try and get some early goals. And I was looking at some of the average positions of their game at Anfield, and it was very interesting to see that the wingers were very much tucked in for a lot of the game and very, very central. And they also had the 3 centre mids very central as well. Philip Billing was actually the furthest midfielder forward, with Ryan Christie and Joe Rotwell in the centre. And that is going to be if you're trying to stop Spurs, especially with their inverted fullbacks, that's going to be quite a effective way of disrupting our build-up and trying to stop us progressing the ball upwards, and maybe even nicking the ball in dangerous areas and pouncing on our back four. So there's definitely something to watch out for. And I do envisage early on, if we're maybe not awake to this, what I would do if I was Ange, looking at that and thinking about how Bournemouth set up against Liverpool, I would try and make the wing fullbacks a bit more wider, like we did in the second half against Man United, and have them inverted just strictly, because I feel like that's what Bournemouth will be waiting for and counting on. And in fact, I felt like that's what Liverpool tried to do with Trent Alexander-Arnold coming inside and being an inverted fullback. And I think Bournemouth were ready for that. And that's why they kind of flooded the central areas. And it got them a lot of joy in the early on. And I think Liverpool adjusted to it and ended up taking control. And I think Ange has got to learn those lessons that Liverpool maybe learned during the game and make sure that they find solutions early on so Bournemouth aren't disrupting our build-up as much as they did Liverpool at Anfield. But I do envisage that Bournemouth are going to be well up for this. They got quality as well. They got some very tricky players. I like Jadon Anthony on the left-hand side. Philip Billing's been a solid player for a number of years in the Premier League, I feel. And I think he's had a great season last season, and he's had a good start to this season. Solanke's really developing into a proper Premier League striker now. I think he's really fulfilling his potential. I think he's strong, fast. So I think it's going to be very difficult to contain this Bournemouth side. But I'm just looking at our quality, and I'm looking at their back line. And I like Zabriani, and I think Max Aarons is decent, but I think we got more than enough to open up Bournemouth on a regular basis.
Yeah, when you're looking at well, you touched them already, but the ones to watch that we have picked up are Solanke and Billing. And Billing's actually a player that really impressed me last season. He was coming up trumps for them in that second half of the season, time and time again. A big man, but definitely he knows where the goal is, and he's a lot quicker than maybe you would expect him to be. Big Dom Solanke, I mean, I think he kind of took a while to bed into last season. Ended up getting 6 goals, 7 assists. I think one of those goals actually come at the beginning of this season. But correct me if I'm wrong, he did score in the first game. A late goal against West Ham. But what kind of threats do you reckon these two provide, and how can we combat that?
Yeah, so when it comes to Billing, I see him as like a more technical version of Marouane Fellaini, like tall, like broad shoulders, like really good at holding the ball up and getting the ball onto his chest. But then he's also got a really sweet left foot if you allow him the opportunity to shoot anywhere around the area. He's got a really good, sweet strike on him. He scores a number of goals. He's got good, decent finishing ability. So I think you just got to kind of either make sure he's not getting those opportunities to shoot in and around the penalty area, or stop those supplies. I think a lot of the time they like to go long to him, either to head it on or to take it down on his chest, and that's something that we have to be wary of. And I think Romero or Basuma, one of the two, have got to share that responsibility of making sure that Philip Billing's not getting as much joy as maybe he has done in previous weeks. Solanke is a difficult one because he's a very physical striker, so it's very hard to bully him. He's fairly quick. I think he reminds me a bit like Callum Wilson, but he's a bit like Callum Wilson, but a bit more involved in the general play than Callum Wilson is. And I feel like he's quick in behind, although not lightning, but he is definitely deceptively quick. You don't want to let him get the run on you, but he's also quite physical, so he can battle with you. He can hold the ball up, and I don't think he's the most clinical finisher, but if you've given that opportunity, he's definitely starting to find more goals as the years have gone on for him in the Premier League. So I think Van de Ven is going to have to make sure he's closely watched. And I think, again, you're going to have to make sure you're stopping the supply to him because he's becoming more and more dangerous. I
feel like Dom Solanke is a very streaky player. Like, he can go on runs of like scoring with like 3-4 games in a row, and then you just won't hear of him for like a month or two. Like, I feel like he's very much like a streaky / maybe a confidence player.
I feel like since the second half of last season, he's becoming a bit more consistent. I think he has been streaky. I think he still is probably a bit of a streaky player, but I feel like the second half of last season, he was adding a bit more of that consistency to his game and getting a lot more regular goals and assists. And I think he's going to bring that into this season. I actually think as well that playing under a manager like Iraola, I do think he's going to get more chances than maybe he did under Gary O'Neill. And I expect his goal output to increase, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets double figures this season.
What happened with Gary O'Neill? Because it seemed from everyone from the outside of Bournemouth that, you know, he did a really good job there. I was saying at the end of the season he was one of the managers of the season because Bournemouth were like nailed on for the drop after just before he took the job, and he really got them performing out of their skin, saved them from the drop, and when they finished like 15th or 14th in the end. And then he loses his job and the new manager comes in. I mean, that is ruthless from the Bournemouth hierarchy.
Liverpool. I really like Iraola. Iraola has experience of taking teams from relegation threatened into mid-table in Spain, and he's done it playing a brand of football which is a bit more progressive than maybe what Gary O'Neill was doing. So I felt like maybe the Bournemouth hierarchy were making a decision: do we stick with Gary O'Neill and put our trust in him given the job he's done? But he might have a ceiling which is maybe not as high, maybe not much higher than what he's already done. Or do we try and look forward and actually kind of get ahead of the game and try and get a more progressive manager who's going to allow us to maybe climb the table a bit quicker and maybe have tactics and a way of playing which is going to be a bit more progressive, a bit more modern than Gary O'Neill, and get ahead of like the potential problems he sees in the future. And I think they've decided to go the latter. And as much as it's shocking, it could be a very clever move, and it could be something that we look back on at the end of the season thinking what a decision that was. Because, like, let's be honest, Gary O'Neill, I think he's done a brilliant job. And look, he's at Wolves now, and we'll see how he does.
Had a great start to Wolves. I mean, in terms of the football that they're playing.
I mean, they lost 2 games.
Yeah, I get that, but they completely dominated Manchester United in the first game.
You can't say he's had a brilliant start if he lost 2 games.
Okay, results he haven't, but sometimes when you have a new manager coming in, it's all about the way you're playing your football, and then results come. I think Wolves, the way they've started the season under Gary O'Neill, I've been impressed with the way they're playing. They're taking so many shots, they're being really attacking, and they've deserved better from what they've had the first 2 games.
I agree, they've probably played better than their results suggest, but at the end of the day, they've lost 2 games. Unless that starts to turn, like, we can't say he's doing a great job just yet. And look, they're playing okay, I have to say. They're against United, they were very impressive. Against Brighton at the end, they did capitulate at the end as much as they were in the game in the first half. So we'll see if that happens. But I'm saying, could Gary O'Neill get Bournemouth higher than 15th? I have my doubts about that. But if you look at Iraola, is he a manager with potential to maybe get more out of this Bournemouth team than maybe even Gary O'Neill could, especially with some signings?
To where, though?
Maybe pushing the top half, potentially. Who knows? That's what they're banking on. And I think with Gary O'Neill, I think the target still this season probably is for Bournemouth just to stay up. I think that's probably what they're looking at. But I reckon they see in Iraola a manager with potential to progress them, not just kind of have them tread water. Whereas Gary O'Neill, I still feel like that they're probably feeling like his aim would just be getting in and around, 15th again, and that would be a good job.
I don't know. I kind of disagree in a sense where he came in halfway through a season and got them from, I think they were bottom of the league. Was it they were bottom of the league?
It was not halfway through, it was like 5 games in.
Was it only 5 games in? Okay, fair enough. I thought it was a bit later than that, at least 10 games in, I thought.
In September he got sacked. It was really early on.
Fair enough. But look, I think it's his first stint as a manager at Bournemouth. He's going to learn from any mistakes that he's made, and he's potentially going to get better, especially with a bunch of players that he knows. And I think if he gets into 15th, you've got to always look to progress the next season. So if I was the Bournemouth hierarchy, I'd probably give him another season. And if he doesn't progress from 15th in this season, then fine, you look for a new manager and see where you go. I think it was very harsh from the Bournemouth hierarchy to let go of Gary O'Neill after the job he did last season, because he was one of the managers of the league last season with the jobs that he did.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I do think it was a harsh and ruthless decision. I completely agree with that. But they're trying to get ahead of the game. They're not. I think they probably see Iraola as someone who has a better footballing mind than Gary O'Neill. And at the end, they've made that ruthless decision. This manager, we believe, can take us forward, whereas Gary O'Neill did a brilliant job to keep us up. But can he do any more than that? That was the question. And obviously, they didn't allow him to even answer that question. They've decided to part ways, and it is a harsh decision. And look, time will tell whether it was the right decision. But I can understand trying to get ahead of the game like they are.
Fair enough. If you bring up that predicted lineup for Bournemouth, we're going to go for, well, they've got some injury problems to worry about. Ryan Fredericks, Tyler Adams, their new signing, Utara, the one that scored the last-minute goal against us at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Tavernier and Adam Smith. I mean, 2 Tottenham Academy graduates there in Fredericks and Smith. In terms of the lineup, you got Neto in goal, Aarons at right back, been linked with Spurs over a number of years, Abiani, Sensei, and I can't really read that from here. Kerenez, is it? Kerekez, Billing and Rothwell in the middle, Seriedo, Christie and Anthony with all supporting Dom Solanke up front. In terms of Spurs going into this game, a couple of selection headaches. In my opinion, you stick with Pedro Porro, especially in what you were saying, where we need to focus on getting wide and really, try and counteract what they're planning for us in terms of going into the centre. And Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie will be good wing-backs to counteract that, wouldn't it?
I think so. There is an argument to have Emerson there, just because I think Bournemouth's real threat is out wide, kind of with their wingers, and if you just stop that kind of threat, then I do believe we should have enough quality with what we have going forward, even if Emerson isn't a great option going forward, to just pick the lock and open them up on enough occasions. But I would still stick with Pedro Porro. I think he earned that after the United game, and I think defensively I want to give him another opportunity to show that he's up to the task, and I've got no worries about him offensively. I really think he would provide another option to the attack. So I think we probably do stick with Porro for this game. But looking at Bournemouth's kind of lineup like that, what was interesting against Liverpool was that you see Ryan Christie there in the number 10 position, and Billing was kind of sitting. Against Liverpool, if you actually look at how they set up, Christie was actually more of a sitter and Billing was the one going forward, even though Christie was more of an attacking midfielder. And I think that was probably deliberate to try and get Philip Billing higher up the pitch. So I thought that was kind of interesting development from Bournemouth, and whether they do the same remains to be seen. But I look at that midfield three and I just think Basuma's going to have a field day. I really do. I think he's going to have absolutely no worries about trying to get a burst through if they try and press him. And if they do that, if they focus on Basuma and kind of try and try and really clog up that central area like they do against Liverpool. The problem Liverpool had is they didn't have a Basuma. That was their problem. So they're trying to play through the middle. They didn't really have a really strong player who could hold, who could be press resistant. Although they did start to find solutions anyway, but early on they didn't have that player. So whenever Liverpool went through the centre, Bournemouth were able to just pick them off and be very aggressive and win the ball in high areas. I don't think they're going to be able to do that with Basuma centrally. And what I can envisage happening is them trying to do what they did to Liverpool with Basuma there, Basuma being able to wriggle out those situations more often than not, and then all of a sudden it's going to open up all kinds of space for Tottenham to play into, and then that's where Bournemouth are going to come into trouble. So what I envisage is Bournemouth do get a bit of joy, maybe early on or during the game, and maybe create one or two chances. But I believe like they're going to try it a lot. And I reckon more often than not, Basuma is going to be able to find solutions to those problems. And by the end of the game, I think we're going to come out on top because of that.
Yeah, it's like Liverpool that game didn't even start with any recognised central defensive midfielder or anything like that.
Yeah, and McAllister in the six.
Yeah, and obviously he got sent off. What was it? In the first half, he got sent off as well, or was it second half? But I think like with the Spurs midfield, and first of all, we got to talk about that Spurs midfield because you'd say that Pape Matar and Basuma are dead certs for this game this weekend after the performances they put in against Manchester United. But the big question mark is James Maddison, Giovanni Lo Celso, or even a potentially Dejan Kulusevski to move into the centre. Ange Postecoglou did say that Maddison has been training and he should be available to start. So on that basis, are we going to assume that James Maddison plays?
I think so. The way Postecoglou was talking, it did imply to me that I think Maddison's going to be involved at least. But it does sound to me he's going to start. He is available. He is obviously vice captain, so he's one of the leaders in the team now. I think he's going to want him on the pitch if he is available to play. So I do envisage if Maddison, he did train today. If there's no doubts about whether he's fit or not, I think he gets in the team, and I think him picking up those little pockets of space and making sure that he's really hard to pick up and creating chances for Tottenham, he's going to be a real key figure for Tottenham if we're going to be able to create chances at the volume that we should be against a team like Bournemouth.
Yeah, and I would really like to see us assert our dominance early in this game. I know what you're saying, Bournemouth are going to come out and really try and attack us from the off. But that's going to leave spaces for us, and that's going to be able to us to really. I know we're not a kind of transition team or a counter-attacking team anymore, but it'll kind of trigger those kind of presses and really be able to pick the spaces pretty much with the likes of Kulusevski, with the likes of Son. I want to see Richarlison hang around that 6-yard box and really be there when the chances come his way. And I want to see him get more involved and get those chances because we haven't seen him really get in those areas, especially against Man United. We did see it a couple of times against Brentford. And I want to see Maddison get into more scoring opportunities and take shots from further out. And I really believe that we can go and win this game. I won't say comfortably, but I think as the game progresses, you'll see Spurs assert more dominance and more dominance and more dominance. And I do think we go and win this game.
Yeah, I think once we get into our rhythm and once we take control of this game, which I do envisage might take a bit of time to do so, but once we get settled and do take control, I'm actually looking at the matchups between, like, say, Son and Max Aarons, Kulusevski and their fullback, Richarlison up against their centre-backs. And I'm really fancying our chances. Son, I predicted, would struggle a bit against Wan-Bissaka, and in fact, he didn't. He actually gave him a really tough game. And I actually think when I match up Son to Aarons, I know Aarons is quick, but I actually don't think he's that good defensively. I think he's quite suspect. And I think positionally he can get caught out. And I actually am backing Son in one-on-one situations to get a lot of joy out of Max Aarons, in my opinion. So I think that's definitely one matchup we can get the best of. Richarlison being a good penalty box striker, if we can get that supply into him, I saw against Liverpool the struggles that back four had when dealing with Liverpool's front line in the penalty box and trying to kind of stop them from getting a lot of joy. Like, I know Luis Diaz scored a great goal, but the fact that he was able to take the ball, flick it up and score like that, that was like that sort of finish that kind of Richarlison's capable of. He did something similar in the World Cup. So I definitely think Richarlison is going to be able to get some joy out of them as well. And I look at the central midfield, I do expect them to maybe clog it up a bit, but I think Maddison is going to be looking at their central midfielders in Rothwell, Billing and Christie and think I can definitely be getting some joy here. And I think if I can flirt in between the lines and pick up some really awkward positions and make Bournemouth think about where I am, I really believe he can also Like, I don't see Rothwell being able to completely shut out Maddison. I think he's going to get some joy as well if he's there. So I think I'm looking at the matchups in this game. Potentially one matchup I might be a bit concerned about is maybe Jadon Anthony against Porro, because I think Anthony is a very good dribbling winger, and he's on the left-hand side. He's actually had pretty good time of it with Bournemouth. That's where their main threats are. But I think Solanke as well. He's a physical striker, but I'm looking at these matchups once we take control, and I do think Tottenham should have enough in this game to make their quality count.
Yeah, I mean, Max Aarons, I'm not sure if he's that bad. I mean, I'm looking at the stats against Liverpool, and they seem to be all right, to be honest. Like two out of 3 aerial duels won, 7 ground duels won on the day, 2 tackles, 0 interceptions, 2 block shots, 4 clearances. I mean, on the basis, I know they lost 4-1, but their 2 fullbacks seem to have really strong defensive stats, to be honest.
Yeah, because they had to do a lot of defending.
Yeah, so they're going to have to do a lot of defending against us. I just hope that
defensive stats is not about volume.
Yeah,
the time.
It's true, but I would say that that Sonny needs to be kind of at his best this weekend, and I want to see him consistently just go in and attack Aarons. I want to see Kulusevski as well be a lot more involved in the game and really bring out that end product that we know he has. I know he got an assist against Manchester United, but for me, I think Kulusevski hasn't really been at his best over the first 2 games, as well as probably the whole front three. I know Sonny as well had a much better game against Man United than he did against Brentford, but I don't think all 3 of them would hand on heart say they've been at their best so far. So I think, like, when you're looking at the rest of our players, like the midfield, the defence, the fullbacks, they've all been like performing at probably a higher level than the front 3 have had. So I would like to really see the front 3 start to dominate this game.
I think a lot of it's going to go down to mentality going into the game as well. If we go into this game a bit sluggish, thinking that we're going to win the game easily, thinking Bournemouth are a small team, I think we're going to be in for a tough ride, because I do expect a lot of a high energy performance from Bournemouth, especially at home, especially under the new manager. I do think they're going to try and put us under the cosh and be really aggressive. So I think if we can match that energy, and like we did in the second half against Man United, be confident, be aggressive as well, not allow them to bully us, not allow them to hound us, and not panic when they're pressing us and we're trying to play out from the back and they're pressing really high and they're flooding the central areas, and we need to be kind of really clever and smart about how we build up from the back. If we can kind of not get overawed by that early on and keep calm and keep composed in those situations and match their energy, then I think we should be okay. But I think, we've seen how many times down the years that a Tottenham side who obviously go into an away game like this where you expect to win, and then they come out and they come out with that kind of aura like they're expecting a win instead of actually earning that win. And if we do that in this game, then I think that could spell trouble. But I think if we can match the energy like we have been doing under Postecoglou, then I think we should be okay.
All right, what's the score prediction?
2-1. I think I expect a tough game. I expect us to have to really battle for these 3 points. But I think the quality should shine through, and I think we will end up winning the game.
I said 2-1 in Predict the Prem earlier this week, which is live on The Ball if you want to go check it out. But I think now, after talking about the preview, seeing that Maddison is potentially back as well, I think we can actually take them 3-1 this weekend, and maybe Bournemouth take the lead early on or something like that. But I do think, like we've been saying all stream, that Spurs will end up stamping their authority on the game, asserting their dominance, and hopefully finding a few goals. And I'm backing the front 3 to have much better games as well, and hopefully Richarlison can get his first goal of the season as well. So that is our match preview. I want to know your score predictions in the comment section below. Let us know how you think the game is going to go as well. And let's move on to predicted lineup. But just before we do that, I just want to remind you that we are taking callers on this show. The link is in the community section for gold members if you want to come on and have your say. But let's move on to the predicted lineup, and let's talk about the team news first and foremost. Ange Postecoglou has been talking in his press conference about the injuries and stuff. So what are they?
Yeah, so Maddison, good news on him. He trained today, and Postecoglou said he should be available for the weekend. Obviously, he's not completely guaranteed. He said as long as there's no more further setbacks today, he trained and with no pain. He said he could have trained yesterday, but he didn't. But he said at the moment, Maddison is going to be made available for tomorrow's game, so we expect him to be part of the team. But other than that, Gil is still out, Sessegnon's still out, Bentancur's still out. They're still kind of long-term injuries. Fraser Forster's was back in the squad last week, so obviously he's fit to play as well. So no new injury problems, thankfully.
All right. And also positive news, by the way, on Rodrigo Bentancur, who could potentially be back next month, but I don't expect him to play next month or anything like that. But let's go on to the predicted lineup. And in goal is obviously going to be Vicario Venom, as he's been called. But look, a nervy display maybe in his first game, but second game, he really showed people what he's about.
Yeah, brilliant display against Man United, pretty much faultless. And I think in this game as well, it's going to be, I think he's going to have to do a lot more, maybe, in my opinion, he's going to have to do a lot more kind of coming out of his goal and sweep a keeper than maybe he did against Man United, where he played maybe a bit of a deeper line. I do expect that line to be a bit more aggressive again in this game. But I think he's capable of doing it. We saw Maddison had some trouble doing that again for Liverpool against Bournemouth, and he could have got himself sent off. But luckily for him, the referee only gave him a yellow. But I think Vicario's got to look at that and learn from those potential errors that Maddison made. But look, obviously Vicario's our number one keeper, so he plays.
On right back, we are going for Pedro Porro, siding with Pedro Porro on top of Emerson Royale, and we feel that the attacking threat that Porro could pose in this game could be really valuable. I
think so. Postecoglou was actually asked about Pedro Porro in his press conference, and he said, I'd be reticent to read into anything after 2 or 3 games. He performed well last week and performed well in pre-season as a fullback. He's got some attributes to the way we want to play. He is good with and without the ball, but again, he is 23. We have a great young back four at the moment. Emerson is in a similar boat, and they will develop as they go along. But given the fact that the biggest problem with Porro is his defensive ability, and he had a good game against Man United in that aspect, and he provides more going forward than Emerson, I think he'll be the one starting in this game. And I think at the moment, I wouldn't say it's his shirt to lose, but I think he's got the shirt at the moment, I guess.
Yeah, I'd also would say different games provide different threats, and it's great to have two very different right backs to a certain level in the squad. So I think Porro starts this game.
And it's also easy to forget that Emerson didn't really have a reason to drop him for the United game, so it wasn't like he deserved to be dropped. Yeah. So he could easily maybe just drop Porro for this game.
I would say maybe when we come up against the Arsenals and the Man Cities, maybe Emerson comes in for those kind of games. But let's move on to the centre-back positions. Right centre-back is obviously going to be Cuti Romero. And you know what? I've been really impressed so far with Romero. I thought he was really good against Manchester United. Obviously, he started well against Brentford, but went off early with the concussion injury. But I've noticed a difference in this early stage of Cuti Romero. I feel like he's demanding a lot more authority on that pitch and taking responsibility as well, which maybe we didn't see on a consistent basis in the Spurs shirt last season.
Yeah, maybe being part of the leadership group has really helped with that, being named vice captain. And he was actually talking again in an exclusive interview about the vice captaincy. He said it was a beautiful surprise. I wasn't expecting it. I'm always grateful to have the trust of the club and the coach, and I'm always trying to transmit my energy to my teammates. It's a new role. I'm learning, but I have great examples of leadership from my former clubs and in Argentina. You have to ask the coach and what he saw in me, but I always give 100%. I have years left on my contract, and I'm very happy here. So I think that definitely it's maybe gave him that more responsibility, and I think that's probably what he needed, because we know he's a very rash player. We know he's a player who maybe sometimes is overly aggressive, and maybe having that more responsibility and that leadership will make him think more about diving into tackles stupidly and doing those kind of things. And I think it's helping him and his relationship with his teammates as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a smart thing what Ange's done here with the leadership team. When you're talking about the vice captains and the captains, I was talking about this on David's show last night, and we were saying that with the 3 players, you got Maddison, you got Romero, you got Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son is like a leader for everyone. He's in every single leadership group in the team. You got Romero, who kind of he's very close with the South American lot, the Spanish speaking lot, and he can speak up for them. And then you got Maddison, who's obviously will be very key in the English speaking kind of clique in the group. So I think you've got someone that represents everyone in that leadership group, and they're all kind of potentially, apart from Sonny, they're all new players as well. So I think it's a very smart thing that Ange's done here.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to the left centre-back, and that is Mickey van der Ven. Everyone's been very impressed with him, and with the pace that Solanke has, I think Van der Ven will be really good to combat that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that he's really taken to life at Tottenham so far really comfortably in his first 2 games. I think he's really settled into the back four fairly seamlessly. I'm sure there'll be tougher tests for him to come, and he's really going to have to put his defensive ability to the test. But I really like him from what I'm seeing from Van de Ven. I'm sure he'll be very important in this game if we're going to win.
Moving on and making up that back four on the left-hand side will be Destiny Udogie. And you know what? This guy just seems like he's been playing for Spurs for years. It's unbelievable. He's just taken to this team like a duck to water. And he's 20 years old. I mean, I've never seen a player that have come in from a different league at that age and just literally just hit the ground running like he's been here for years.
And make such an impact playing at like fullback as well, be so involved in the game, not shy on getting on the
Inverted ball. Fullback as well.
like taking people on. Defensively, he's so strong physically. He's really hard to take on, but going forward as well, not only does he get into the positions, but he seems to have quality once he gets into those positions as well. I'm super happy with Destiny Udogie. We obviously all had high hopes from what he was showing in Udinese, but I really didn't expect him to be this good so early on. So let's hope he carries it on.
Yeah, 100%. He's completely exceeded everyone's expectations of him so far. But let's run through that back line with you guys one more time. Exactly the same as we saw at Manchester United. So Vicario in goal, Porro right back, Udogie left back, Van de Ven and Romero in the centre back positions. And in the 6 is obviously going to be Yves Bissouma, 2 man the match performances so far. And I would even go as far to say as the best performing player in the Premier League so far.
Yeah, after 2 games, I think he's absolutely been exceptional. I think he's going to be in for another tough game in this one. But I expect him again to come out on top in that midfield battle. I've seen how Bournemouth, what they tried to do against Liverpool, really flood the central areas and cause problems for those central players when trying to build up from the back. But I think they're going to come in for a different kind of threat when it comes to Yves Bissouma, someone who's extremely press resistant, so strong, so good at dribbling out difficult situations. And I think he's going to thrive in this game again. So yeah, obviously Bissouma has to start, and what a start to the season he's had. And then another player who was absolutely exceptional in that game against Manchester United is Pape Matar Sarr. And these 2 players, Bissouma and Sarr, when you're talking about dominating midfield in matches, especially in this game, you got to look to these 2 and say, like, you know, we're going to dominate this midfield this weekend. Yeah, they provide so much legs and energy, but also, like, obviously Sarr got a goal. Bissouma's starting to, like, create chances in the final third as well. They're providing quality, not just off the ball, but also on the ball. And I think Sarr, 100%, he took that shirt and like he's never going to let it go, like he's never going to let anyone else play in his position. And it was a phenomenal performance. Ollie Skip couldn't really do that against Brentford, but once Sarr came in, it was a completely different showing, full of quality, and he's absolutely earned another start for sure. And then obviously to make up that midfield 3, as we mentioned earlier on, James Maddison, we feel that he's going to come straight in with the injury. He was left the last game in a protective boot and on crutches. But Ange Postecoglou said that he has been training and he should be available for selection. Yeah. There's been a lot of talk about Lo Celso getting his opportunity in this game, but it looks like Maddison is going to beat the clock in terms of being able to be fit for this game. So I expect him to come straight back in. I think he's a very important player for the team. Postecoglou was actually asked about Lo Celso in his press conference, and he said Gio has been really unlucky that he hasn't had any game time, but again, I've been really impressed with him. So hopefully soon he gets an opportunity to show that he can be part of this team. I just feel like maybe he'll get some minutes later on in this game, but I feel like Maddison is going to get the nod from the start. Yeah, and also Romero came out speaking about him as well and said that, Lo Celso really wants to stay at Spurs. He feels happy here. I can't remember the exact direct quote, but he was talking about how involved he is. Yeah, he said, Gio is a fantastic player. He can bring so much to Tottenham. I hope he can stay and he has chances. I know he wants to stay. He's willing. He wants to compete and have a great year in the Premier League. So very encouraging quotes from Romero, because obviously the narrative definitely going to some was Lo Celso definitely wanted out of Tottenham and he wanted to leave. So that's, either that seems to have changed or that never was the case. But look, we'll see about Lo Celso during the season. I'm hopeful. I reckon with Maddison maybe having this injury, maybe later in the game, Lo Celso can get some minutes. All right, so that is the midfield 3. Let's move on to the front line. On the right-hand side, we're going to look at Decky. And look, I have been fairly disappointed with him so far. He did grab himself an assist against Manchester United and got himself a little bit more involved. But I want to see more from him. Yeah, we want to see obviously him create more chances. I think he's got a good opportunity in this game to really take take his fullback to the sword and hopefully give him a really tough afternoon. I don't think he's been terrible since in the first 2 games. I think he's been a bit of a mixed bag. I think he's probably been more good than bad, but let's hope that he really starts to shine like he was in his first 6 months.
And then up top, we're going to look at Richarlison, who hasn't impacted games in the first 2 games. We know, though, in Ange Postecoglou's systems that number 9s can go missing for 20 minutes periods in games, not see much of the ball, not have many touches, but they are usually there in the 6-yard box to really finish off the chances when they get created by the other players. But that just hasn't seemed to materialise as of yet.
I think it can almost be like a selfless role for the team a lot of the time. Like he's pressing, he's going to play on the last line a lot, like because that really helps stretch the back line. It creates space for the likes of Maddison to play into in the penalty area. So a lot of the time he's either caught offside or is not involved, but I think it goes under the radar how crucial that kind of role is for the team, as much as he's not getting involved. But yes, we definitely want to see him more involved. We want to see him have more chances on goal. And I actually do think this kind of game could be a bit more perfect for him than maybe like the Brentford game was, or maybe even the Man United game, because they got better quality centre backs. But I think Bournemouth should give him some opportunities to really start getting chances and hopefully get some shots off.
And he just desperately needs a goal, Richarlison. You can see that it's affecting him, him not scoring. And I feel like he's very much a confidence player, Richarlison. And I feel maybe when one goal, maybe not one, but maybe when like the second goal comes, you might see the floodgates open a little bit more and he'll play with a bit more freedom.
Yeah, I hope so.
And then to finish off that starting 11, obviously going to be our captain, Heung-min Son, on the left-hand side. A much better performance against Manchester United than it was against Brentford. So hopefully more of the same, if not even better.
Yeah, and what I liked about it as well, he did start to pick up the ball centrally on a lot more occasions and was probably unlucky not to score with a really good block shot from Luke Shaw. Hopefully I see more of that from him in this game, and I really do back him up against Max Aarons to give him a tough time when they're isolated and he's able to really take him on 1v1 and force opportunities. I reckon Son could fancy his chances in those kind of situations. So I'm backing Son to have another good game in this one.
All right, so there you have it. That is our predicted lineup. Let's run through it one more time with you guys. It's going to be Vicario in goal, right back Porro, left back Udogie, centre back positions Romero and Van der Ven, Bissouma, Maddison and Sarr in the central positions with Son and Kulusevski supporting Richarlison. We've gone for the exact unchanged lineup from the performance from the 2-0 win against Manchester United. I went for 3-1 to Spurs. Sim has gone for 2-1 to Tottenham against Bournemouth at the Vitality. So that is your predicted lineup and predicted scorelines. Let me know yours in the comments section below. And let's move on to the guests. And it is your chance to have your say. If you want to come on, the link is in the community section. I believe we're just lining up the guests as we speak, so just bear with us. We do have currently nearly 700 people in the live chat right now. Only 121 likes, so please scroll down, smash that like button, and it really does help us and helps us bring you the algorithms and helps us the videos be seen every week by you guys. So big up to each and every one of you that come back every week. But let's go on to our first caller, and he goes by the name of Josh from Spurs Live.
Yes,
How you doing, Josh?
guys, how are we doing?
How you doing, my friend? You good?
All good, all good. Looking forward to the game. I mean, you know, it's gonna be enjoyment to see another magnificent game from Bissouma, but I'm looking forward to it. You guys?
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I mean, it's been a while since like Spurs can consistently look forward to watching their team, right?
Correct. I mean, look, I've said this multiple times. I'm gassed to watch Tottenham again. You know, they're attacking free-flowing football. But, you know, I'm still waiting for that front line to score a goal. We haven't seen a goal from them. What's going on? What is this? We don't
need the front line to score. We've got the defenders scoring anyway.
Oh, we get the oppositions to score the own goals for us. You're right. It's fine. It's all good. Martinez, come on, step in one for us. But I think, look, overall, we've got a good game ahead of ourselves. Bournemouth, I think what's important to note is that they're not a crappy team. They're like they're a decent team, and it's nice to now seriously see what and how Tottenham Hotspur will cope with this kind of team. One thing to say especially is the fact that I personally don't think Bournemouth have any other option but to let Tottenham have the possession. And when you let Tottenham have the possession, more like when you let Bissouma have the possession, you're gonna concede goals. And I think Bournemouth are gonna be in for a very very tough game for Tottenham, and we need to look for the counter attacks from Bournemouth.
Yeah, they had a very encouraging maybe opening exchanges against Liverpool, didn't they? And they really gave Liverpool some trouble before Liverpool kind of took control. Looking at that though, do you think we could maybe fall into the same traps Liverpool did if we're not careful?
I think it all depends on Mickey Van der Ven and Romero for me, in my opinion. I think when we play such a high line, yes, Bournemouth can counter us. But it will depend on Mickey Van der Ven and Romero. I think Romero I'm a little bit more not okay with, but a little bit skeptical more about Mickey Van der Ven, simply because that aerial duels that he's not the best at. But I think overall, if Basuma can control the midfield, have a little bit of help from Papi Matar, and in my opinion, it'll be Lo Celso as well up front. I think we can do. We can do fine.
Yeah,
So
you talk about the front three before. Obviously, Sonny, Richarlison, Kulusevski, especially Richarlison. What do you want to see more of them do this weekend to really hurt that Bournemouth backline?
I think with Richarlison, it's so simple. It's just score a goal. I mean, I think at least for him, it's once he breaks that lock, he's okay to go for the season. He will be scoring. I think that first goal is just keeping him outside of that whole 10 goals, in my opinion, he can score the season. For Sonny, I think it's like you guys said earlier, the United performance. He played fantastically. I would say amazing, but I think he had a very good performance. I liked it that he dropped deep a little bit, got the ball in the centre a little bit. But I think from Sonny, I wanted to get more on the ball and maybe try take on a man. I'm not too sure if he's able to anymore, but I want to see more of Sonny taking the ball from the middle and taking on a man, or even cutting inside in the box and taking a shot. With Decky, it is a bit difficult. I mean, the geezer can't even put a cross, and I'm really, really, really not happy
Did
with
get
him.
an assist. Got an assist against United.
I mean, sure, he got an assist, but look, I think he really needs to up his performance now. When he's got competition on there, Manor Solomon, I'm a big fan of him, and I think Manor Solomon can potentially take Kulu's place. Even I'm even going to put it this way: I think Ange could sometime put Puro in that position. So Kulu has to step up his game ASAP, and by doing so, it means getting not one assist a game, maybe two assists a game, or maybe not assist a game, maybe score a goal. He needs to up the stats a little bit, but and stop being a little bit more, stop being predictable. He's way too predictable, cutting in the inner side, taking a shot on the left, or going on the inside and just going all the way. It's a bit too predictable, in my opinion.
you said before you expect Lo Celso to start this game. You know, Ange
Correct.
said that Maddison is a fit and available. He did train today, so you think it's still too much of a risk to start him?
100%. Especially, no offense to any Bournemouth fans out there, but I think against Bournemouth, where yes, I did say it's a difficult game, but I think it's a game where we can allow Gio to express and tactically show us what he's like on the ball. I think as well that in this kind of a game, Maddison would be perfect to break the lines for Bournemouth, but I don't want to risk him because of his injury. I don't know how big. It's not big injury. It looks like he was available. Like Ange said, it looks like he was available to play a day. Just medical team decided not to let him train. But I think if Lo Celso starts, we can really get an understanding of how he fits into the team and help Ange. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it helps Ange more than anyone else. You see Lo Celso play with the likes of Pape Matar Sarr and Basuma in the midfield. See how he links up with Lo Celso, with Richarlison. Who knows? Maybe we can potentially see a partnership of Basuma, Lo Celso, and Maddison. Who knows? But I think giving him the chance, and like reports came out, I'm sure you've heard about the Lo Celso promise. Like Ange has promised and told Lo Celso that he will get game time. I think now is a perfect time to prove to Lo Celso, here you go, take your time, and Lo Celso has to prove to all of us, because I think, including yourselves, you want Lo Celso to show us what he's like, because we haven't really seen him much.
All right, Josh, score prediction.
So I said on my channel, I said 3-1. I'm going 3-1 Tottenham Hotspur. I'm looking for goals from the attack. I'm really looking for it. I'm going optimistic. I'm going to go with a Richie goal. I'm going to go with a Lo Celso goal. And I'm waiting for Udogie to score. I want Udogie to score a goal. I'm desperate for him to score a goal. And from Bournemouth, God knows how it's going to probably go on a counter attack or a set piece for all we know. But look, lads, it's going to be an incredible game. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, big up to yourselves. Have a good one.
You too,
Nice one,
mate. You
Josh.
too. Have a good one. That was Josh, very excited
He
Spurs
is
fan.
hyped.
Yeah, but I think the whole
Like you are.
Spurs fan base is. I mean, when have you remembered the Spurs fan base to be like this? Like looking forward to every game and thinking we're going to
Honestly, it's been
win,
the
attacking
longest week,
football and
just counting the days.
I
to
know,
Ange Ball.
I know. It's
I've
mad.
never been like that before, like in a long time. Like
Since
I just
Poch,
can't
probably.
wait. I can't wait for the next game. I just need some more Ange Ball. It's like a drug.
It really
come
is.
on, I need my next fix.
I know, it's absolutely brilliant, to be honest. This club has just completely flipped 180 in the past, like since the summer, really, since like the week before. Remember when Arnie Slot, when that Arnie Slot move
for
broke
slot.
down? Do you remember when that broke down?
Yeah, how
And just
depressed
like
we were.
the stream that we did, and everyone was calling in, going absolutely mental. And then like Ange has come in. And like even just during pre-season, like the whole mood has just completely flipped 180. It's madness. I've never seen anything like it. But let's bring on our next guest. He goes by the name of KPV.
Hello, boys.
Hello, KPV. How are you?
Really sad at the moment.
I'm sorry
What's
to hear.
up?
Wait, Wyatt, WWE superstars, passed away at age 36 yesterday. Everyone in the chat sends their condolences to his family, as I do. Another WWE legend is gone, and it's been a quite difficult week for everyone. Terry Funk, 76, and now Bray Wyatt, 36. So the two sixes are gone, the ages, which has been a difficult week, like for everyone who WWE fans out there. We're all shocked, and yeah, he had COVID. That's why he's gone and didn't return. So I send my thoughts and prayers to him. Everyone, please respect his family's policy. And tonight, I can't wait for SmackDown and see that there will be a tribute. So let me in, as he always said. His Fiend character was brilliant. I loved him, and yeah, but. What did I say, boys, last weekend? I said the Man U curse was going to come to an end. What did I tell you?
You're absolutely spot on, Kyle. Absolutely spot on. We did get the win last week. Bournemouth provides a different challenge, but are we going to come out on top again?
Yeah, away, like I said to David, we have a good record away at Bournemouth, but you all know the last time we lost was we had Son and 4% off under Poch. So we only lost once there, and we feel them every time we go there. But revenge, what they did to us at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium back in April, May time is coming. Revenge, man. And we have a good record there. Son loved the goal against Bournemouth, and I don't think Richarlison's ever scored against him when he was at Everton, I think.
I can't remember if he ever scored against them while Everton. But look, Maddison has a bit of an injury going to this game, but Postecoglou said he's fit and available. Do you start him?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I know Josh said he thinks Lo Celso should start, but I know Lo Celso won the World Cup. He was in the squad, but I don't care when he says he won. But I start Maddison, and yeah, maybe I still want him to score a goal, but he can take free kicks. Don Paulo, if I'm missing anyone else, I'll take free kicks. But yeah, and I need Udoji to score, and we need that front line to score, man. Kulu just needs to work on his shooting boots a little, but yeah, Kulu masterclass incoming this weekend. Forsuma, another man of match performance incoming. Let's see if we can make it 3 on the bounce. And I said I'm going 5-0 Tottenham.
5-0.
Another clean sheet, man. Another clean sheet. Vicario, masterclass incoming.
Who's going to score, Kyle? Who's going to score all the 5 goals?
I think Son can score 5 because I watched your video.
All
on the
5. All 5 goals is going to go to Son.
The first scored 5 against Wigan in a 9-1 win, remember?
I do.
What's the relevance to Sonny scoring 5 this
So it
weekend?
means Son's going to score 5 this weekend. That's what.
Yeah, then he'll become the second player to score 5 because Defoe has scored 5, I think, once, and he scored a few hat tricks. Berbatov got 4. That was against Reading, so before. But can Son scored 4 against Southampton during the pandemic, and Kane got 4 assists. So if Son can score 4 and he's got a few hat tricks, then why not? But Son to score 5 would be immense. Like I said, 5-0. Like I'm right tomorrow, but people, do your team tonight because the deadline's at 6:30. So less than in just a few hours, do your team. I've already activated my free here, and I don't want to hear any like stuff from you two because I know David had a bone. So don't even start. You ain't looked at my team yet. So if you think you're gonna try and look, you're gonna end up getting a beating. And yeah, I'm surprised you two haven't done FPL show yet, like you guys done last. You haven't brought that back on. Like bring it back. Like bring on the ball. Like the new channel. Why haven't you brought that back yet? And
you're always trying to call the shots, KPV. What's going on?
He wants the producer's job. That's
Yeah, is that what it is? You want the producer's job?
producers, like you're looking at the king of the channels, mate. I'm king. And
Where's your crown?
bring back-
Where's your crown?
I've got one more here, fella.
We stand corrected. We stand corrected.
All hail KPV.
I love James Black from the Voice of Spurs singing Robbie Williams song, but I'm loving Big Engine said.
Go on, give us a rendition, Carl. Give us a rendition. Go on.
Come on.
What? You want me to sing, man? Like, you'll be good one, like Brian Daigle said before.
Look, you are the king of the channel. You're king of all YouTube channels. So I think you got to give us a rendition.
Like, I don't know all the words because I've been singing it.
Come on,
last night.
KPV, get it right.
And you two are really trying to take the piss out of me or what? Because
No.
Dennis, and I saw my rematch soon. I want my rematch. So you better start practicing because in just a few weeks I'm going to be 27. So I expect something. And yeah, I'm not going to tell you who I packed. I packed Team of the Season Kane and Team of the Season Moments on, but I'm not going to tell you who I packed. I've been packing like 5 times because
All right.
you're all going to take the mic again. But anyway, I think that's that. There's only 2, but thanks everyone for watching and subscribe to On The Ball because Dennis can bring you content. And I'm out. I'll see you all tomorrow. You going, Ben?
I am going, yeah.
So what about you, Tim? You staying?
You're going to see my ugly mug on the watch along, Carl. Don't worry.
Who's gonna see you again?
Exactly. You laugh because it's not true. I like that.
It's Barry again tomorrow, is it? Or is
It's
it
not Barry, it's Brian.
Brian Daigle. Brian Daigle.
Oh, brilliant. I'm going to sing that to him later. Don't you worry.
And as always, Levy out. Brian Daigle in. Over now.
Cheers, KPV.
Cheers, Carl.
And you heard the man. Go and subscribe to On The Ball, our brand new channel where we bring daily football content for you guys. And as well, do go and check out our brand new website, as you can see on that brand new ticker rolling along the bottom of that screen, WeAreTottenhamTV.co.uk, where you get up-to-date blog posts daily from us. And Postecoglou's press conference will be live on the channel in the next 10 minutes. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.